Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Nozomi Khudyev. I'm from Japan originally. So I was born in Japan and I grew up there until when I was 14. My family moved to Chicago for 2 years because of my father's job. I have two younger sisters and one younger brother. And we are all very good friends. And it was nice to be growing up with other siblings, but nobody does music professionally. They did study some instruments like trumpet and trombone and piano, but I was the only one who decided to actually go into music as a career. My parents both love music, which was very nice for me to pursue my career. But I know that my great-grandma used to play koto, which is a Japanese traditional instrument, and I have a special connection to her.
Oh, nice. So you came over to Chicago for 2 years, and did you stay in America after that, or did you go back to Japan?
I decided to stay because in Japan, you have to take a special exam to enter high school. And because I was in America, I was already 2 years behind, which means that I would be going into high school with my little sister. So I decided to stay in the States so I could not delay my high school studies and go into the junior year. And I decided to go to a private boarding school called Interlochen Art Academy, where I was a piano major. So you do both academic work and also piano as your own major, and that was a life-changing experience.
Nice. And so does that say something about the American education system that you were 2 years behind after you came here?
No, not necessary. It's just you have to pass the test, and also in Japan, high school is only 3 years. So it's just the different system, and it's not bad because it wasn't more about 2 years behind. It was more about me being in the same grade with my little sister.
Okay, gotcha. Yes, don't want to do that.
No. Even though we're really good friends and all that, but I just didn't like the idea of, okay, I have to start over again. And I'm so glad my parents let me study here, because otherwise I don't know what I would be doing.
Yeah.
I would be doing music, but I think it would have been very, very different.
Well, and Interlochen's one of the top schools in the nation, right?
Yes.
And so you went there for the rest of high school?
Yes. So my junior and senior year for 2 years,
Okay.
I went to Interlochen, and that's where I met my husband. So definitely changed my life there.
Emil is the clarinet instructor here.
Yes.
And so you met in high school.
Yes.
Okay.
So we met because we did have mutual friends, but the big reason is because we both took chamber music class, and we are put in a trio with piano, clarinet, and viola. And that's how I start getting to know this wonderful clarinetist. I didn't know he was going to become my husband, but yes, that's how we met.
Nice. And so after Interlochen, what did you do with your musical education?
Well, it's interesting for me because when I was in Japan, I started piano at young age. And I don't remember this, but I begged my parents for piano lessons. I really wanted piano lessons. And they said, you have to practice every day. You have to be very studious. You have to practice every day. And I said, I would love to practice piano every day. So they start bringing me to lessons. And after maybe a year or two, I wasn't so interested anymore. And my teacher also changed because my previous teacher had to move to Europe.
Okay.
And the teacher was, I think, great, but it wasn't the best maybe match for me. And I start losing my interest in music over time to the point that I did not want to play piano anymore, and I wanted to quit piano. But I couldn't quit until I came to America, but it gave me the option of not playing piano anymore. So I quit for a little bit while until I came to Chicago, and because there's Japanese community in Chicago, I met this family who said, oh, Nozomi, if you play piano, you have to meet this piano teacher. And my first reaction was that I don't want to meet any piano teacher, especially Japanese one, because I didn't have the best experience in Japan. But my parents said, you have to go see her because she's expecting you. So I go there, and first thing I say to her, I'm not going to play piano. I don't want lessons. I'm done playing piano. And she was very nice about it. She said, I understand, it's okay, you can explore different interests, but it's great to meet you. And I don't remember why, but I decided to go back the next week to see her by myself for a lesson. And when I entered her room, she was practicing piano, and she said, "Oh, Nozomi, could you just wait for 5 minutes? I just want to play through this piece," which was Chopin Etude, one of the Chopin Etudes. So it's not a big piece. But I said, "Of course, I'll just sit here." So I was listening to her, and something just light bulb went off in myself. I said, maybe, wow, that's really beautiful, and maybe music isn't something that I thought. It wasn't just a burden of practicing. Maybe it's something more to that. So I started going to her every week for lesson, where for 1 hour I talked to her. She kind of became like my mentor, and I talked to her about how I didn't know English, I couldn't understand this in class, just everyday life. Just it was really comforting to talk to her. And at the end of the lesson that we spent the whole time talking, she would say, "Do you want to play Bach on harpsichord? Do you want to try this Chopin piece?" So I did play a little bit, but not like as a piano student. It's just, okay, let's end our lesson with some music.
Yeah.
Until maybe a year and a half later, that the end of my father's job was approaching, and we are starting to talk about, okay, we are going to move back to Japan. And my friend in school mentioned that you should definitely consider interrocket. So even though I wasn't playing piano regularly, I was in orchestra class because I didn't need really English language to understand. I could understand music, and it was really nice to be in orchestra, and I made some friends there. And I said, okay, I'm not so interested in really going to piano, but I'll try. So I went back to my teacher and said, "Oh, so I'm going to apply for interrocket." Then she changed her face. She said, "If you're going to go into music, I would have taught you differently. You don't even have one piece that you can audition." So from there, for a month, we worked on audition pieces, and thankfully I got into interrocket. And that's where my life changed, and I became very, very serious about music because I think she really helped me to bring me back to music. And there, the teacher was very strict, but he really taught me why music is so important to me.
Yeah.
So that's how I went back to piano. And for my college degree, I decided to pursue music, piano performance degree in University of Michigan. I actually wanted to go to a conservatory because I thought I want to focus on music. But the teacher at University of Michigan, Professor Logan Skelton, I wanted to study with him the most. And also, it opened a lot of doors for me. I took Russian class, I took different language class, I took English class that wasn't maybe my level of English, but it really definitely improved my English. And I think it was great that I kept that doors open and took other classes. Because you cannot, I think in anything, you cannot just do one thing. You have to look at a bigger picture because it all relates to each other. So that's my undergraduate degree. And for my master's degree, I went to the Juilliard School. And I got a degree in something called collaborative piano. So instead of playing by yourself on stage, you play with a partner. You play with violinist, cellist, clarinetist, instrumentalist, or a singer. You play for a singer. Because I really liked playing with people and making music together. I was very passionate about that.
For a practicing musician, why did you decide to get involved?
I think it's important that everyone gets a chance to be exposed to music, because music is all around us, but if somebody doesn't give you a chance to learn about just even the basic things, you don't really know how to use it. So when I got a call from you, I thought it's a great way to reach everyone that might not maybe be able to attend concerts or go have a lesson, but it really spoke to me that it would reach a lot of people.
It does, just even for somebody who has that fundamental knowledge of how music works, gives a deeper appreciation when you're listening to music as well.
Yes, definitely.
Do you have suggestions for different types of students using practicing musician to help maybe motivate them if they don't have a teacher, or what kind of benefit they can receive from also using a teacher?
So I think it's great to start on an instrument, on practicing musician, because it covers all the very, very basic things where you know which finger goes on which note and how, or preparing your instrument or stuff like that. And then I think you can use that, and once you are comfortable with what you're doing, it's of course good to have a teacher who can actually see what you're doing. But you can also keep using the practicing musician, because as the levels go up, all the songs and everything gets more complicated, and you can just learn, you can solidify your basis, which is very important in learning more things later in your life.
Yeah, definitely. We're not trying to replace educators. I liken the practicing musician to when we created massive publication of sheet music. It just makes sharing of information that much easier, and educators use that, and people can take sheet music and they can learn it on their own. And this is just a more comprehensive teaching tool.